Bueno, que lo que mi gente. Welcome to my universe. Welcome back to my universe. Welcome to another episode of the Things I Never Said podcast. So, in this little midday motivational that I have here, I want to just share one of the quotes that I came across. If I am able to, I'll link this quote in the description below. But I've also linked my Pinterest board in the descriptions before, so you can also just follow my Pinterest board and you'll be able to find many of the quotes that I will refer to in these podcasts from time to time. But this one in particular is about detachment. And the quote that I came across, it says, "Detachment doesn't mean not caring. It's taking care of yourself first and letting others take responsibility for their actions without trying to save or punish them." Okay, so I will read that a few times throughout this podcast because that hit home for me. And lately, the subject of detachment has actually been on my mind from time to time, actually, ever since I left my biological parents' home. I have wondered if I have some sort of detachment issues, and if so, how deeply they may run, just because I recognize that when you grow up the way that I did, being a foster child, leaving the foster care system, being reunited with my birth parents, and then becoming an emancipated minor and living with three other households after the fact, it gives you a sense of insecurity, and often not having any sense of stability results in you being emotionally unavailable or just quick to check out. I happen to be, I guess, very empathetic and emotionally available, so I don't think that one applies to me, but I do recognize that I I have little to no tolerance now for things that I know I don't deserve. When I recognize that I'm in a situation or friendship that I know I deserve better within, then it's like the most logical thing for me to remove myself from the equation. And I'd rather just cut the person off completely in like 2 seconds than and deal with the emotions that may come of that later on, or like throughout the day or over the course of the next couple of weeks or whatever, than to sit there and know that I'm being underappreciated. I'd rather not just entertain a person because I recognize that I am allowing somebody else to take up a space in my life that could belong to somebody else. And probably it does belong to someone else, but I'm blocking that blessing because I'm allowing a leech to sit there and reap the benefits of my friendship or of my loyalty or of my compassionate spirit, and so on and so forth. I think that detaching from people and detaching myself from certain situations in my life has actually helped me. I think in some ways it's a means of survival because, as I said, some people can be leeches, and sometimes you can find yourself in situations that take more from you than they give. And in that situation, there is no reciprocity. So, what are you doing there? If you are in a relationship and you recognize that you're always giving that person affection, or you just give that person way more affection than that person gives you, you need to ask yourself, why are you there? What is the purpose of your presence there? What do you believe about yourself that you are telling yourself this is the best that you can do, or this is what you will accept? When you start to ask those questions, when you start to reflect on the decisions that you're making, when you choose to remain attached to something that does not serve you, or someone that does not uplift you or help you or guide you or mentor you, then you may realize that it's actually not that hard to walk away from something that isn't even all that valuable. Sometimes we hold on to these fantasies, I think, and these ideas of what a person could be. I read a quote long ago that said, men marry or get with a girl for who she is, whereas girls will get with a guy for who he can become. Girls will get with a guy for his potential, because many of us have that foresight and that intuition that tells us, okay, he's not there right now, but he can be someday. That's all fine and dandy, I suppose. But at some point, when you recognize that he's not being what he can be, you have to ask yourself, what are you still holding on to? Because if you got with him for his potential and he hasn't actualized that potential, you're wasting your time. You can't force him to become what you think he can be. You can only hope. And if you are with somebody because you're hoping they'll be different or other than who and what they are, you're wasting your time again. It's not up to you when they will make those changes. I have learned a long time ago that people evolve when they want to, not at the same time as you. When it comes to my childhood, there were many things that I knew were wrong or that I knew should not be done. Yet it didn't stop people in my family or people who call themselves my friends from doing those things to me. I knew if I didn't want someone to say certain things about me, I shouldn't say it about them. If I didn't want someone to put their hands on me, I shouldn't put my hands on them. It didn't stop me from getting my head stomped on. It didn't stop me from getting choked twice. It didn't stop me from getting my head bashed into a wall. It didn't stop me from getting whooped until I peed on myself. It didn't stop me from having to go outside and break a switch off from the nearest tree and bring it back to my foster mother so that she could beat me with it. It didn't stop me from enduring all that pain, even though I knew not to inflict said pain onto other people. So why would I keep myself around those people? If they don't cherish me, if they don't value me, if they don't respect me, if they can't honor me, why would I do those things for them? It makes no sense. It's a waste of your time. And it's unfair to your spirit to consistently put yourself around energy that is degrading and belittling and dishonorable, especially when you're not that same way to that person. It would be a different story if you were just as horrid of a person as the person you choose to put yourself around. But it's a different situation when you know that you actively strive to treat yourself and to treat other people better, but then you continue to surround yourself by people who won't do the same. You're literally asking yourself to be miserable. You're causing yourself to be miserable. You're asking yourself to, or asking those people rather, to keep you in a terrible, toxic, sorrowful environment. And for what? For you to complain about it online in comment sections, for you to complain about it to the first person who will listen, for you to waste a therapist's time and complain about your situation as if you aren't the one contributing to it. And no, that's not victim blaming. That's me recognizing that we need to stop absolving ourselves of our own responsibilities. I don't know if this is just a new societal pastime, but it seems like people really enjoy absolving themselves of any which way that they contribute to their own sorrow. People don't want to take accountability for the toxicity that they invite and accept and allow to exist in their lives. I think we have strong intuitions, but we choose to ignore that intuition. We know when we're doing something that is wrong. That's why you lie, right? That's why you cheat. That's why you steal. You know it's wrong. You know it's not yours, but you take it anyway. You know it's not true, but you want something and you know that you would only get it if you were in a different situation. So you lie about the situation that you're in. And all it does is cause toxicity to exist and be perpetuated in your life, as opposed to living in your truth, being honorable to yourself, and being clear about your boundaries. If you know you're not in a situation that, or if you're not in your ideal situation or circumstance, be honest about that. Be truthful about that. Be truthful with yourself. Say, you know what, this financial situation isn't really working for me. I got to change that. This relationship isn't working for me. I have to change that. These habits of mine are not serving me. I have to change that. As hard as it may be to separate myself from you because I don't know how to be independent, I have to do that. You have to be honest with yourself first and foremost. And then you have to be willing to separate from people, or in this case, detach yourself from people who you know you are not responsible for. Someone else's well-being is not your responsibility. It's true. It's not cold. It's not mean. It's not selfish. You are not responsible for the well-being of others, especially if those people did not come out of your body. So I'm going to go back to the quote because I said I'd read it several times. Again, detachment does not mean that you don't care. Detachment is taking care of yourself first and letting other people take responsibility for their own actions without trying to save or punish them. It's not your job to play Captain Save somebody today or any day. If you choose to do that, okay, go have yourself a blast. For as long as the blast will last, of course. But know in your heart of hearts, know in your mind, know in your spirit, know in your body that you are not responsible for that other person and for their actions. You have no control over it. So for the people who write to me about their toxic parents or the other toxic people in their living arrangements right now, I think most of you know you need to separate yourselves. You need to detach yourselves from this idea that those people are ever going to change, or that those people will finally see that you're deserving of respect and all this other stuff that you would like them to believe. It's time for you to take care of yourself. It's time for you to evolve and elevate yourself into a new chapter. And let them be responsible for their own issues and for their own actual responsibilities. And it's not about condemning them. It's not about abandoning people. But hell, sometimes you have to abandon people. I've done my fair share of abandoning people because I recognize I could not help them and they could not help me. I didn't have anything to offer those people. So what am I going to take up space in their life for, instead of allowing somebody else to be used as a vessel to come into their lives and make the changes that need to be made, or invite the insight into their lives that that person needs in order to help themselves? I'd rather not take up space. I'd rather separate myself from you. And I've done a good amount of that when it comes to jobs, when it comes to relationships, like friendships with people, when it comes to people in my family. I detach. And I get easier, or I get better at doing that over time, because I recognize I deserve better. I always deserved better. I always deserved better. But I didn't feel powerful until I actually realized that. And then I started to actually move like somebody who knew, I don't have to take this. I don't have to tolerate this. I had someone tell me not too long ago that I've got big balls. The person told me that I have big balls because I left my parents' home at 15 years young. And the person told me, I can't imagine doing something like that. Like, you've got really big balls. You're very strong to do that. But I can say I just knew that I deserved better. And I got tired of the abuse. I got tired of being ostracized. I got tired of being disrespected and dishonored, as if I wasn't dealing with my own trauma and battling whatever scars were given to me in my previous foster home. We were all taken away. But it seemed like I wasn't allowed to be suffering on the inside. Even when I kept to myself and I was silent, it was a problem. My mother found anything and everything to pick me apart about, and so did some of my siblings. And then when I walked away, I received all of this animosity about how I just wanted to go live with white people. Oh, I hate my family. I'm a traitor to my family. All of a sudden, I actually had a family. But when I was living there, I didn't get that sense of family. I wasn't even considered family. I wasn't treated like family. It's amazing how when you walk away from people, all of a sudden they realize what they had, to an extent, of course. But I'm not interested in that game of waiting around for people to see my value or for people to suddenly respect me. I don't got time. Life is too unpredictable, quite frankly. I'm not wasting my time on people to realize that I am valuable or to realize that I always was. That's your loss, not mine. I say don't be afraid to detach from people when you recognize that there is no reciprocity. You don't owe anything to anybody except for yourself. You owe it to yourself to show up and be better for yourself, be better for the visions that you have for your life. And I want to reiterate, of course, that when you detach from people, it doesn't mean that you don't care about them. If anything, I think I cared enough about people to recognize that I should just take myself out of the equation and let somebody better come along. I think it takes a great amount of strength, resilience, and conscientiousness to even do that. To say, you know what, it seems like I'm not good enough for you. I remember when my legal guardian, after belittling me, allowing her boyfriend to degrade me on the night before I actually left, and after letting her boyfriend tell me that I was disrespectful, and this is some dude that I met like a year ago, so it was just like really bizarre that he chose to fix his teeth and say anything to me during a conversation that was about me and her and our relationship that was going to be severed. But yeah, she sat there, she facilitated that conversation, she let him talk crazy to me, and you know, after he went downstairs, she tried to come into the room and have a different kind of energy with me and pretend as if, and she said to me, oh, he was only defending me and only saying what he has seen. I said, okay, well, you can go talk to him about what you all have seen. We don't have anything else to talk about, because no matter what I've gone through with that woman, what she has put me through, whenever she's put her hands on me, accused me of sleeping with her husband, which I would never. I still didn't ever stoop to her low level. I never allowed any of my friends to come into her home and disrespect her and tell her how horrible she has been to me based on assumptions and based on observations. And I told her that that's the difference between me and you. And thank you for showing me that difference, because you will never, ever, ever in your life benefit from my presence again. You will never benefit from my friendship again or my loyalty again. And that was your loss, not mine. Because if someone can show you how low down they are willing to be towards you, even once, that is your cue to run, not to give them a second or a third chance. I don't believe in giving people a second opportunity to hurt me. I don't. The first time, that was your mistake, that was your bad decision, that was your loss. There's nothing left to talk about. Because after the first time, it's always easier. The first time you try a harmful substance, it's going to be easier the next time. First time you kill somebody, it's going to be easier the next time. Why would I give you a second chance? I'd have to be a fool. And that's just the way that I think about things. That's just how things boil down to me and my little defensive mind, because I just don't believe in allowing people to hurt me and allowing people to take advantage of me. And again, I think that we have a habit of doing that as people by holding on to this idea of what it could be. We are so conditioned, or maybe it's just like a natural thing for us as humans. I don't know, yo no sé, but we seem to be so used to looking at life for what it should be, as opposed to just recognizing what things are. Stop looking at life for what it should be. Stop looking at your relationships for what they should be. Recognize how they are and ask yourself if you're okay with that. If you're not, then you need to move differently. That's all. But on that note, I will say, Tata mi amores. Thank you for listening.